Maybe I'm live. I'm watching the little blue bar move. Okay, now I'm live. I'm live. And is my sound off? It's the most important thing. No, it's not. There we go. Now it's off. Alright. What's up, everybody? I don't have any guests tonight, so this is going to be weird, but we'll make it work. I actually got stuff to talk about. I was sitting there a little bit earlier watching some old school Fear Factor. Joe Rogan 20 years ago was pretty interesting. But I thought, well, I don't really have anything to talk about. Me and Schlem talked about a bunch of stuff. I just posted an interview with Schlem that we did yesterday, and I was thinking, okay, we'll talk for like 30, 45 minutes, but I mean, the rabbit trails and all kinds of stuff was going on, and he was talking about some super interesting stuff. And so it's almost 2 hours long, but a lot of people told me that they either drive for Prime or Grubhub or DoorDash or whatever. A bunch of people do that now, and so they just play the stuff. And so I was actually thinking, okay, well, my videos are getting too long. I can't do this. And everybody's like, oh, no, you just make them as long as you want to. But the Schlem interview was great. We touched on all kinds of things. We talked about Rubicon from inception to releasing, and it was really good. Now, it sucked because I recorded it on the very same software that I record my 30 cleans on and that I'm running the live stream with right now, and it just didn't decide to ever really finish processing that video. Now, luckily, I had it backed up on Zoom because I know well enough by now to have second and third and fourth and whatever else backup plans because technology hates me. But so it saved onto... I had it saved on Zoom, or I had it recorded on Zoom. And so my webcam, for some reason, is awful on this computer. It's like 480p. I think it's a whole lot better on the computer that I use to stream, so we might be doing some flippy flops with some stuff if that ever has to happen again. So my webcam is terrible on this computer for some reason. But what it did save you from is me kind of staring vacantly into the webcam with a kind of deer in headlights look on my face. Because kind of staring into this little camera like I'm super focused on one exact point, and I just kind of... So I get the stares, and it looks awful, and so... and his video feed was better anyway, so it all worked out. I've got my my drink of choice here in my fancy Star Wars mug that's black until you put something hot in it. And then all the fancy lightsabers, and I'm totally going to dump this everywhere. All the fancy lightsabers go up. This is a Black Rifle Coffee Company Freedom Fuel, I guess. That's the type of coffee. Oh yeah, before I get too much further, Mr. James with his Rubicon, I think Rubicon number 2 already. He got a pin-up Rubicon, and it flies. And so he drilled another one pinned down and went to a tournament and shot 1539 for 6. That's a lot. That's a pin under 770 a set, which is an average of 256-ish for the day. So yeah, heck and amaze balls. Yeah. Thanks, Adrian. So yeah, I mean, I like the Rubicon too. I haven't used it a whole bunch because I'm like taking 6 balls to league and then finding a couple of the ones that I like, and I'm taking 6 more, and then I'm taking 6 more, and so the one problem with it's nice to drill a bunch of stuff, and so especially with switching to the Lefty thing, I've drilled a bunch of stuff, and we've had a bunch of stuff come out here recently, so I drilled that, and then I drilled some other stuff that I knew that I needed to drill or wanted to drill, and then there's some other stuff I needed to drill for comparison balls, and so I've been trying out a whole bunch of stuff. And the Rubicon's probably going to make the trip on Monday because we're bowling a tournament on Chromium, and you saw the Rubicon versus Chromium video that I made. Oh man, Joe's already starting this off. $10 for Nerf bullets already? Just listen. Thanks, Joe. We'll see you, and we'll give you an extra bar of goat soap next week. So yeah, that's another cool thing. We have a bunch of people coming in next weekend. But to finish my thought, Monday we have a sweeper that's on chromium, and so the Rubicon looked great on chromium when I filmed for it. So that's probably going to get some sandpaper back on it and go back in the bag. But it's also really interesting on the left side because you think about, you don't so much take, okay, well, I'm going to start, I got some strong stuff, and then I'm going to taper down to some weaker stuff, and we'll kind of work that progression throughout the day. On the left side, it's like, well, I'm going to take options, and then I'm either going to use this all day, or this all day, or this all day, which has been, don't get any in the coffee. Come save me, Miss Toss. Yeah.
Choose between, do you cover your face, or do you cover the coffee?
I'll cover it with one of these.
Does it hit the ball?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll just cover my face with this. I'll just... Uh-huh. Man, we might have something here. I'd say, hey, there's some We've got some advertising opportunities here. It's like whenever people shoot Nerf bullets at me, it's like, hey!
I got 2 left.
Liberty Mutual Insurance for when you get shot. Geico supplemental insurance for when I get an eye shot out by a Nerf dart and I can't work.
I think it's Aflac, dear.
Oh, whatever. Aflac. Well. Oh, okay. Well, maybe if Aflac paid me for the, I'd get it right. All right.
You got
Thanks, Joe.
You got a whole clip for that $10, Joe.
Mm-hmm. A whole clip, and that's a little teaser. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. Yeah, I also bought. Go get the goat soap.
Yeah, I'll go get the goat soap. Make sure quite often that you plug next Friday too.
Oh yes, big news, big, huge freaking news. So before I get any further, because I will forget about this because I have a lot of other things to talk about. Next weekend, like I said, well, like I was getting into before, I was talking about the Rubicon and taking it out, and then the Arsenal stuff with the, which I'm actually writing. That's the next video I have to write. Is I finally kind of settled on my 6-ball league Arsenal, which is completely going to change in like a week because I'm drilling a ton of stuff. But for right now, I've actually got something fairly, and I've got some that even if a couple balls come in and go out, I've got 3 that I know for sure are just, and they weren't really 3 that I expected. One of them I expected, the other 2 I didn't think any chance in a million years. But so I mean, I'll add the video, but I'll tell you now. It's the ProMotion, which I knew was going to be 100% obvious. The astrophysics and the trend. I didn't think that like shiny kind of boomy balls were going to work that great over there, but it's actually kind of amazing because I figured out something that I was doing wrong. On the right side, I always like to roll the ball and get it into an early roll or whatever so I can get deep and control my shapes. On the left side, there's plenty of friction, plenty of hook, plenty of whatever else, and so it's actually a whole lot better if I can just kind of ease out of the ball and just kind of. And speaking of this, the Tish Johnson 30 clean that I did was amazing. You need to go watch that. And if you don't know if you haven't watched it because you don't know who she is, you need to go find out who she is, because when the PWBA was around for the first time, it was her and Carolyn and Leanne Holsenberg and Kim Terrell-Kearney and Wendy McPherson and a bunch of great ones. That you might have missed if you weren't around for that kind of era. But Tish Johnson is still one of the best out there at just getting out of the ball. She's got such classic form, and it's great. But we talked a little bit on there, and something clicked. I've been watching older videos and thought, okay, well, I got the shoulder thing figured out, but then I'm like, something's still off. Something still doesn't feel right. And so I was dumping the ball and whatever else. And then talking with her, it clicked. I never used to roll the ball. If I went back and looked at my old Lefty videos, I never used to roll the ball. I just let it out there. And so as soon as we started talking about her release and whatever else, I'm like, that's it. That's what I have been forgetting to do. And then all of a sudden, if I could pick up a 7-pin, I would be averaging 240 in my Thursday league for the first 3 nights. And that's what Pin Pal says. That's not even... So if I was clean, if I picked up all my makeables, and I don't think I've had a split in that. No, I've had 2 splits, but they were 2 7s. They were 3 10s. I'm going to call them 3 10s the rest of my life. 3 10s on the opposite side of the lane. I've made 2 of those, actually, matter of fact, and then I think I've only had 1 other split like the entire time. The rest of them are makeable spares. I've only had one shot in 3 weeks that was not a makeable spare. Everything else has been makeable, and I've missed several of them. Now, I'm still averaging 232 for 3 weeks. I could be averaging 240. But promotion's just ridiculous. And that was a couple weeks ago when I did the Tish interview. I kind of did okay the first weekend, and then I had the interview, and I'm like, okay, well, man, we got it now. And I shot 730, missing a couple 7-pins this last week. And so, yeah, it's been great. And so the Astro and the Trend, getting back to what I was talking about 5 minutes ago, getting back to the Astro and Trend, 2 balls that I thought, okay, they're going to fly on the back end. Pearl is not a great idea, but I find it's actually quite a bit easier if I need to get in a little bit. If I need to open up a little bit more than what the ProMotion is built to handle, it's crazy because it's just like a super walk it in. I mean, I'm one of those typical lefties that just kind of puts it out there and lets it walk on up to the pocket and splash stuff all over the place, and it's actually pretty good. I knew it was going to be good, but it's way better than I had expected, and lots of people commented on it. But the Astro and Trend were 2 that I just did not see coming, and those have actually been fantastic. So, but the big news, Rabbit Trails. I'm remembering stuff, though. It must be the coffee. I'm remembering stuff. Next weekend is the first weekend of the Greater Kansas City Open for anybody that travels to tournaments like maybe Greater Tulsa Open in Oklahoma or Greater Ozarks Open in Springfield, Missouri, or some of the kind of bigger team double singles tournaments out there. If you travel around the area, Dave Waswo, who used to do the Bowlers Show, and Mike Adamski, who kind of started out the KC tournament thing to begin with, and then Dave and his wife joined, and it's been a pretty good thing to have a bunch of tournaments to go to. That's the one that we're going to on Monday. They're running that one, and then they're trying to start a bigger regional double singles team event, and I think this is year number 4, year number 5, and they had something. They've already got up to like 150 teams last year, so people are traveling for it, and it's growing pretty fast. But next weekend, we've got people coming in from all over the place. James, Mr. Shimrecker, is flying out. We have Tamer Elbaga from Tamer Bowling flying out. So anybody that's a Tamer fan, if you subscribe to me and don't subscribe to Tamer, I would find that weird, or just unusual. It's not. I would just. We've been kind of, and he was doing it for years before I started doing it, but we're kind of a couple of the longest tenured ones out there, and a couple of the bigger, more. He's more of an independent channel, but I'm not. I mean, I'm kind of an independent channel too. He's not on staff with anybody, and I am, but we're not like specifically back like somebody like Justin Wyman was when he was on with Motive. But some of the kind of just individual channel or whatever. Need more coffee. Tamer Elbaga of Tamer Bowling is going to be here. We're going to have a live stream, and there's a kind of a den or a party area at Aaron's Family's Fun Center in Belton, Missouri, and we're getting kind of set up in there. We will actually, it's kind of a party room, but not a party room. It's more of kind of an upscale type thing. They have 6 lanes in there, and they have couches and stuff in there, and they have it has its own little bar area in there too, and so it's a nice little area that we're going to be doing a live stream from next Friday at 7 p.m. Central. And it's going to be me and Tamer and James sitting there talking about some stuff, and I don't know why I've never had Tamer on the stream before, but we're going to make it happen next Thursday or next Friday. Next Friday, 7 p.m. Central. me and Tamara and James, and we're also gonna have some friends there too. The rest of the people that are coming in for the weekend. So have some other people there. They're gonna put down Kegel Arsenic in the background, so we're gonna have some people kind of bowling during the thing, and we might kind of switch off, and we're gonna try to set it up to where we might do some live stream and some general talk and stuff, and then we're probably gonna go out on the lanes and throw some shots and talk about some different things, and maybe have like a little instructional thing or whatever, and you know, we're gonna show James that he has negative tilt despite what he thinks, and Tamer's been working on getting more up the back of the ball so he didn't have to play so much lane, and I've been working on getting around the ball a little bit more so I don't dump it so much, and so I can play in a little bit more when I need to, and so yeah, we're gonna have all kinds of fun with that. So again, 7 p.m. Central next Friday night. It's gonna be frickin' awesome. I have a bunch. Speaking of that, I'll talk about this right now, and then I'll get to some questions. Well, actually, let me get to the questions first. I don't want to get behind because James isn't going to be here long. He's headed for Hibachi before too long. James drilled a pin-down Rubicon. Like I said a little bit earlier, went 1539 for 6. So, yeah, that was... he drilled the first one pin up, and he likes it, but it's pretty boomy, and so he thought, well, this is a great ball, though, and it would be a little bit more usable for me if I drilled it pin down. So he went pin down, and it blended it out just a little bit and just knocked the holes out of the thing. So, yep. Yeah, James is... There's been several balls where I've been like... And I'm still on the Pro Motion. I don't give a heck. I mean, I've been on the Pro Motion since day one, and it is absolutely frickin' legit. I still am on the Pro Motion, and that, you know, I'm actually on the trend now too, which I thought, okay, well, I like the core. I really like the core, and that's something I talked about with James too, is that he liked the core too. He doesn't get along with spec at all, but he at least recognized, he's like, okay, well, if I can get this core in a different cover, and he's a huge R2S Pearl fan. He throws his Astro a bunch. He's really loving his High Road Pearl. He's I don't know how many emeralds he's drilled already, when he remembers to take them with him. But yeah, he's already getting ready to do trend number 2. Also, he's going to drill a pin down one, and I am surprised at how much I like mine. I mean, R2S Pearl and that kind of big symmetric core, where it's basically like building another Marvel Pearl. And I've heard a bunch of people say, "Oh yeah, it's just another sucky Belmo ball," and well, you're an idiot. So if you write it off because of a logo on the side of the ball when it's R2S Pearl and a big symmetric core, that's it's just not smart. It's just not. So yeah, Curtis said, I saw that. I just went from the Rotogrip Dude interview to a Luke Live. Yeah, and I thought about that. I had intended to get it up yesterday, but I had also intended for it to be like a 30-minute episode, and then it takes the computer 15 minutes to process it, and then a couple minutes to transfer, and then the rendering time was going to be the longest time, of course, an hour and a half or whatever to finish that up, and then upload it and take about an hour and a half to get up on YouTube. And so I was doing all the time in my head, and I'm like, yeah, I should be able to get this done today. And then we talked for 2 solid hours, and then it didn't save the recording, and I had to wait for 2 hours because it normally takes about a minute to process every minute of video for some reason. It's a good computer, I swear. But it just never processed the video, and so then I get on here on Zoom, and I at least have this, and that it still all worked out. But yeah, the Schlem interview was great. So again, if you haven't seen the Tish interview, watch that. If you haven't seen the Schlem one, or I guess you probably haven't seen the Schlem one yet. The Tish one's been up for a couple weeks, and y'all aren't recognizing, I don't think. So need to go get on that. Brian, I was watching your Board Box 2 video, noticed that you don't slide in your release, but rather just plant. Was that by design? No and yes. So when I always just had the one-footed bowling, or the specific righty-lefty bowling shoes when they used to have either right-handed or left-handed. Now they have the interchangeables between both, so you didn't have to worry about it. But when I started bowling lefty, I kind of had to plant because those were the only shoes I had. And when I started, I was just kind of messing around. I'm like, well, I'm not going to actually spend money on a pair of bowling shoes to just screw around left-handed. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, okay, well, and then I start kind of getting good with it, and then I start kind of getting good with it. And so when I did get my first pair of 8s, I think, I thought, okay, we're going to give the sliding thing a chance. No prayer. No prayer. I would have injured myself. I would be hurting myself. It would be completely wretched, tragic, whatever else that you want to say. And so I just stuck with the planning. Now, to flip that around, I actually gave it a shot in May or something. I gave it a shot in May when I, definitely said, okay, screw this, I'm done. We're just gonna go lefty, and that's just gonna be the story. Or in March, I guess. I gave it another shot, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna hurt myself. I had the same reaction. This is not going to work. But then we started bowling when one of the centers here in town started opening up again after the lockdown. They had a bunch of restrictions. You could only have so many people in the building, and so they were having to do stuff back and forth with stuff inside. They were having to shut the air. They were trying to run the air conditioner higher and save, cut as many costs and turn off all the lights that they could and cut as many costs as possible. There's a couple hot weeks there, and it got really humid in there, and it was just awful to slide right-handed. I mean, we tried to go practice there a couple times, and just sliding wasn't happening. Well, with me bowling lefty, I have no problem. And so the light bulb went off there, and I'm kind of like, oh, well, if I just keep planning, I am literally never going to have approach issues again, ever. It's just not going to happen. And the one thing is people, well, it's going to be hard on your leg, it's going to be hard on your knee, and it's gotten sore here and there, but I think that's more about just kind of getting back into things. I think I've gotten my hand conditioned to the point now to where I've got some, I don't have these baby soft tender hands anymore. And so last weekend I had 3 games on Thursday and 3 games on Friday, and then we had 2 8-gamers Saturday and Sunday, and I made it through all of that without having to put new skin on or anything else. And my hands doing just fine. So the hands getting better, and then I made it through the weekend just fine with the knee too. I used a little bit of the Turbo's rock sauce, which is amazing. They have a cold one which kind of cools things down, and if you've got just a little bit of soreness, but then they've got fire that really gets to work to relax everything. So that combination was great, but I didn't have to use much of that. My leg's doing just fine. My knee's doing fine, and I don't have any approach issues. So when people are complaining about the approaches, I'm just like, I don't know. When they're complaining about how the lanes are breaking down, I don't know that either. And I have to tell you, I don't feel terribly sorry for them. I really don't. I do not feel sorry for them at all, because I've been on that side. I understand it, and I'm not fighting execution 24/7 anymore. I'm fighting a little bit of coordination, and I'm fighting a little bit of mechanical inconsistencies, but I'm not fighting physical ability now. If I want to do something, anything I want to do, I can do it. I can stay behind the ball, I can get around the ball, I can come up the back of the ball, I can come up, and that's actually a couple of these videos I'm going to talk about here in a second that I've written. I wrote 4 videos over the last week that I'm gonna work on next week. I actually have next week off, so I'm gonna go film a bunch of fun stuff, different stuff. It's not gonna be more bowling ball commercials or whatever else. But all this stuff that I wanted to do right-handed but never really could execute or pull off, I can actually do it left-handed. So I'm gonna get out and do it, and it's gonna be so much fun. But being able to physically execute now, I'm only throwing a couple marginal or just flat-out terrible shots a game, where it used to be 7 or 8 marginal shots and maybe a couple that I thought, okay, well, those are decent enough. I can accept those. I'd only throw 3 or 4 good shots a night right-handed, and now I'm throwing 5 or 6 a game left-handed. So it's a whole different animal, and I'm just happy to be. I don't even really care what happens. I'm just happy to be able to execute. I mean, I haven't been able to do that for 4 or 5 years, aside from a day here or there, but. How much is the new Rubicon? I'm looking for one. For me, it's an HP3 price point, so it's going to be the same price as Wild Streak Idols, stuff like that. I think those are around 150, depending on the website, 155, something like that. Yeah, the pinup ball flies, and James answered the question. Thanks. Thanks for that, because I got to it 30 minutes late. So, oh, chromium not. Well, somebody told me arsenic. So chromium's for the stream on Friday. Okay. Somebody. Well, I thought it was going to be something easy, and he kept saying, "I'm going to put down something tough, and we're going to do arsenic and whatever else." So, I don't have negative tilt. No, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. Oh, did Angel answer that question? For Angel, how do you like the Rubicon, and if so, how will it fit in your bag for league and tournaments? It's a little strong for her, actually. If you notice in the video, she's going to take it on Monday. I'm going to make sure that she takes it on Monday for chromium, because there's a little bit more oil on that. But she had to get pretty far left, and that only allows her to use it in practice and maybe game one, and so it's really not worth messing around and screwing around with it, and then having to switch balls so soon, and then having to completely change what she's doing. It's easier to start with something a little bit easier to work with. They'll secretly put out red square. Yeah, lefty versus lefty. Look out. Hey, Cassie. Hey, Cassie. Let's see. Pros, the trend is awesome. Cons, my entire car and garage reek of artificial blueberry. Yeah, so when the IQ Tour Fusion came out, it was blueberry muffin, and a friend of mine had drilled one, and I think this was before I got on with Storm, or I don't remember having one. I think it was before I got on with Storm, and it was before I got on with Storm and was still throwing motive stuff. But he drilled a Fusion, and I'm like, well, I wanted to get one. And then we drove to Nationals and took his equipment, and the entire van smelled of blueberry muffin. And yeah, artificial blueberry muffin the entire way down and the entire way back. It was pretty legendary. So, for garbage time, is a wrapper need pearl better for higher tilt crank, or I knock the shine off my emerald with 3K and it's too over under for me? I would imagine that the emerald's going to be too over under. You knock on the shine off with it, it's probably going to be kind of earlier and then kind of late. The electrify pearl is kind of like a baby emerald, but you shouldn't have to knock the shine off of it. The wrap is actually stronger than the emerald, so the wrap, I think, is stronger than the emerald, and the electrify pearl is weaker than the emerald. So it's whatever you want. So when's the fast pitch coming? It's not releasing. I don't even have the balls yet. I don't have that or the Axiom Pearl. And so I remember a question now somebody asked about what I could expect out of NEX Pearl. I'll go back up and grab that one now that I remember it 45 minutes later. Well, no, I've only been streaming for 30, so okay. So I'm not as far behind as I normally am. Fast Pitch isn't releasing until the 9th of October, and I can't put up videos until like the weekend of the 18th, 19th. I can put up videos the 17th, 18th, 19th, whatever that Friday is. And so that's still a couple weeks off. So 2 weeks from yesterday, I think I can put videos up. Let me see. So what can I expect? What are your thoughts? Sorry, Michael. What are your thoughts and expectations of NEX Pearl compared to other NRG-type Pearl covers? I think it's going to be pretty similar. Looking at the video, I just drilled a Marvel Max Force that's got NRG Pearl on it, and I'm expecting the Axiom Pearl. And from Storm's got their 6 ways video up for it. It's pretty smooth. It's pretty round and smooth, but that's kind of what I expected. The orbital core is interesting because I took the Axiom out last night, and I need to sand the cover back down. It's a little, with shine on it, it's a little too springy for me on friction, and it's a little too slow for me in the oil, but that's kind of a lefty thing anyway. Anytime you got to open up a little bit, it's really tricky navigating because the wet dry is a super wet dry. But I'm expecting the Axiom Pro. I'm actually expecting to throw that a lot. The trend is kind of a transition or drier ball for me, and I don't get to use that as much as I want to. Most of the time it goes a little bit long, and I never kind of get enough transition to get down into it. So it's still one of those weird things that's like, well, I'll throw my promotion for game and a half, and then we'll see what happens after that. And then I throw my promotion the entire night, and I think I finally had to move 2 boards in like frame 8 of the 3rd game Thursday night. So just like, yeah, if I don't start the night out with it, probably not going to get down to it. because there's no point getting to the last half of the last game, just move a couple boards in with the same ball I'm already throwing and know exactly what's going on. So, all right, we're going to go back down. Hi, Cassie, again. Oh, crap, now it skipped again. Lefty v. Lefty. All right, James is going to dinner. Oh my God, the fever pitch video is not happening because it's on the right side, and we're just never doing that again. We're never speaking of that ball. We're not. The purple may get a similar treatment now. However, Storm's six ways video has my interest extremely piqued because the pitch purple is weird because it kind of wants to be round, but it wants to arc at the same time. It also wants to be a urethane ball, but it also wants to flip too, and so it just doesn't feel like it has too much of an identity for me. And when you want urethane, you think like, okay, pitch black, I'm using urethane. I'm not going to use something that kind of wants to be a little bit of this and a little bit of that and whatever. So the pitch purple just kind of is a little lost for me. But I watched that video, and the fast pitch is really round. It's really slow. It's really smooth, but it looks like one of those balls. But it's round, and that's the thing, is it's got that round kind of IQ Tour like idle general kind of motion to it, but it's quite a bit weaker. And so this could be something, especially for me on the left side, to just have something round like that I don't have to try to shape or play with the shapes to get it to go through the pocket the right way or go through the pins the right way. Something rounder shapes generally give you a bigger pocket, so to speak, because they're not going to get to the spot and stand up. They're not going to be too continuous. So you're going to get the light hits, you're going to get the kick corners, and you're going to get some of the trip stuff when you go high. So you're either going to trip 6, trip 4, or whatever. But rounder shapes generally are great, and that's one of the issues with lining up with the pitch purple. But the fast pitch, the antennas went up watching that video, so I'm quite a bit more. It's kind of like, oh, it's going to be urethane, but I'm probably still going to use the pitch black most of the time, because if they try to make something that shapes more than that, or it's a little bit longer and it's a little bit flippier than traditional urethane, it's like, well, that's going to be a big hit or miss. So. Yeah, if I tried to roll the ball left hand, I'd be lucky to keep it on the lane, you ambidextrous mutant. Ambidextrous horse-faced ginger mutant. That's my new line. Everybody kind of liked that in the Board Box 2 video. Hey, what's up, buddy? Love the videos. Are you going to test with your normal layout? Yep. The Axiom Pearl's definitely getting the... Well, let me... Hang on. I was thinking I was going to go to a 4.5 with some stuff. The Axiom is just a little too... I think that the Axiom Pearl is actually going to help me blend this out better. I'm going to be able to stay a little bit closer to the gutter. So I'll probably go ahead and do that with a 4-inch pin. I think the fast pitch is getting a 4.5-inch pin because it's like 258, 020 something. It's got the fever pitch core in it. It doesn't have the pitch black and the pitch purple cores in it. It's got the fever pitch core in it, which they're actually different. So I'm going to do a 4.5-inch pin on those, as well as the pitch black and pitch purple I've got for the comparison. So yeah, Michael, I'm sorry I missed your question to begin with a half an hour ago. I did catch that up. So NEX Pearl actually looks a little bit smoother than the other NRG Pearl covers, which is kind of interesting because they're kind of smooth to begin with. The Marvel Max Force is pretty boomy, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, Fusion, here comes Big Earn. Man, I wish I'd have gotten to that quicker. Man, I thought he just talked to me. I thought he just sent me stuff, but apparently he sends everybody stuff constantly, nonstop. When do you think you'll be able to review the new Axiom Storm release? I wonder if that's the ball Belmo and Storm were trying to develop. I don't think so. The ball that Belmo and Storm were trying to work on was the Trend, and that already came out, so we got that. The Axiom Pearl, I'll get the 2 weeks from yesterday is when they let me put videos up. So, slightly speed dominant with lower tilt and 55 to 60 for rotation is ball a good choice. Working with Crux Prime, Astrophysics, and Axiom on the strong side end of my arsenal. Well, the Rubicon is not going to really shape like any of those. The Crux Prime is early and smooth. The Axiom's got a little bit more shape, but it's more heavy rolling than the Rubicon. The Rubicon's cleaner up front, and then the Astrophysics. The Astrophysics and Rubicon would actually pair really well with each other. So, do you think you're going to like the Axiom Pearl more than the Trend? I have a feeling the Trend is going to have quite a bit more punch down lane than the Axiom. Yes, I think that the Trend is going to shape more because I think that R2S is, and this is something that Schlem and I kind of talked about, the differences between nano covers and chemically enhanced covers, and then the clean, just pure reactive resin covers that's E-Trax and R2S. And so R2S is going to be cleaner up front, and it's going to be more responsive down lane than the Axiom Pearl. Obviously, I don't have it yet, so I can't. I can't tell you any specifics, but nanotech as a rule, and I have a whole bunch of experience with nano pearl covers, it's going to be earlier and smoother than the Trend. I don't know how much stronger. I don't know how much earlier and how much smoother, and I don't know how much stronger it's going to be, but might like that fever from the left side. Probably not. And we're not going to find out. What's up?
It's Rubicon.
What Rubicon?
The stream is for Rubicon. You keep talking about balls that you don't even have. You need to.
Well, I understand that.
Well, then quit. Get on to play. Pick your other stuff.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm answering questions.
I know, and I'm.
Do you anticipate there going to be much of a reaction difference between NEX Pearl and Traction X7 Hybrid? Probably. I have no idea what it's going to be yet, but yeah, we'll find out. The fast pitch looks like Storm's third attempt at a Purple Hammer clone. Maybe. I don't know. It looks like they got, if nothing else, if that's what they're trying to do, if that's what they're attempting to do, they at least got the shape right. It's got that round kind of continuous motion. So I think that if nothing else, they got the shape right. It doesn't look like it hooks quite as much, but nothing looks like it hooks quite. Everything hooks less and has more back end on the HQ videos than it does anywhere else. So fast pitch looks extremely weak and probably better for a low speed or high rev player. I wasn't a fan of its look, but I'm sure it has its place. Maybe on a beaten down lane. That's kind of what I just referenced. Is everything goes like several feet longer, like 2 or 3 feet longer at HQ. Is weaker but has more back end than it has literally anywhere else. Every time I get them, or every time I watch the HQ videos, I'm like, okay, so it's going to hook a little bit more, it's going to hook earlier, and it's not going to be quite as fast on the back end. So that's kind of my measuring stick for HQ videos. So. Yeah, purple's a good ball when you're in urethane. It either starts rolling too early or flattening out down lane. Yeah, I can see that. I never got to that point, but bought a Booyah Pro hoping it'd be a step up from the pitch black, only to realize it's stronger than the IQ Tour Nano Pearl. Today's urethane covers are too strong. Some of them are crazy. The Black Widow urethane that they had was nuts. Where would you put a Rubicon in the league bag? I will be planning on bringing when we start UFO, P2, Nuke Cell, P3, and last up in the air between Isle Pearl and High Road. Doesn't have holes yet. I'm left-handed too, if that helps. I don't find that it matters too much where you put it in the bag. I just end up taking, I was like, okay, I'm going to take these 6 balls, and I don't really care where they're at in the bag. I just kind of throw them all in there and use whatever I need to use. It would probably be the Rubicon is interesting because it kind of overlaps with the Phase 2 as far as hook potential. But the P2 is earlier and smoother. It's actually got a stronger cover. The Rubicon has a stronger core. So the Rubicon is like a longer and faster Phase 2. So it's going to be kind of sideways from that. Thanks for the insight and have a good Labor Day weekend. Stay safe out there. Yep, you too. Black Widow Urethane might be the earliest, strongest ball I've thrown. It's a really weird motion. Yeah, it's nuts because it's urethane that actually flares, and that's the big thing with regular urethane is most of the time it doesn't flare that much, and so you get some oil on the cover, and then it rolls over the same oil tracks over and over again, and that's what kind of gives it its early. It gets its early once you towel the oil off, it gets its early traction on the first couple rotations, and then it gets the oil on there, and then it just kind of walks in the rest of the way down the lane. But if you have a urethane cover that flares a lot, like the Black Widow urethane, it just hooks off the planet. So would you say the same for the hot cell? No, because the Black Widow urethane was different. It had a little bit stronger urethane cover. The hot cell, they tried to go with just a bigger core and just flat, straight, old school urethane. So the hot cell was kind of weird. It didn't end up there's still a lot of people that use them and love them, but yeah, hot cell's a lot straighter off the end of the pattern. So all right, so other stuff I was going to talk about now that I've caught up with questions here. I have, and now that my head's up in the, yeah, I've got my kind of thumbnail that I posted here, and that's not actually on the TV. It's on the. See, I'm going to put my hand up in there. Going a little different direction with some of the videos for this week. I actually have the week of Labor Day off, so I was going to do some stuff that normally takes a little bit longer to do, and some stuff that takes a little bit longer to conceptualize. And what do I want to do? The ball comparison, the ball reviews, and the ball comparison videos are super easy because you know exactly what's going on. But some of the other videos, it's like, okay, well, can I pull this off? Can I illustrate this? Is this something that's actually going to be visible, or is it going to show up, or is it going to make sense on video? So my first video is going to be on angle of rotation, and we're also going to talk a little bit of ball shape too, with hook set stuff versus continuous stuff. And I'm going to be able to show you the different angles of rotation and explain when you come up the back of it, what do you expect from that, or when you get all the way around the side of it, what happens with that, and how do you pair that with balls that are more hook set, and how do you pair that with balls that are more continuous. So I'm going to take out some stuff like the Wild Streak and Rubicon are a little bit more hook set. And then my plastic ball is going to go out, and I'm going to throw it super. It's going to allow me to throw it super slow-mo, but plastic is continuous because it doesn't ever use or burn energy at all ever. So you can come straight up the back of it, and it's going to want to pick up and kind of hook. More hook set motions are when they roll exactly in the direction of the rotation, and they actually kind of want to straighten out a little bit down lane. They burn a little bit of energy when they're hooking, and so they kind of straighten out. And, most people think, okay, well, I need continuous stuff because I don't want something getting down there and leaving me flat corners. Well, hook set stuff doesn't really do that. They're like the ultimate controlling angle stuff. Chris Barnes loves drilling like 6-inch pins in stuff because it gets the ball loses axis rotation, so it gets to the end of the pattern, and then it kind of straightens out and stops. Well, he can control exactly where he wants it to get to, and instead of the ball picking up and continuing to go, he wants it to get there and stop and go straight where he wants it to go. And people that get around the ball a little bit more, if they have something continuous, it's just going to pick up and it's going to keep going. And so for some people, continuous stuff is just constantly driving by 9 pins and wrapping corners and whatever else. But the more hook set stuff, when they get around it, it just kind of stops. It doesn't necessarily stop, but it kind of straightens out a little bit, and so it helps them balance their angles. Now, continuous stuff, if you get up the back of it a little bit more, or give it a little bit more time to work or something like that, it'll actually pick up. Even though you kind of straighten it out, it'll pick up and go because it's not burning much energy on the back end. So that's one of the videos that I have set to go. And then my promotion is going to be on that too. So the next one is how to raise your average, and it's really, really simple. We're going to talk about some of the numbers behind why you need to do what you need to do. Basically, you need to pick up spares. That's a simple way to get to it, but there's several things within that. I mean, it's hard to pick up spares if you're not consistently hitting the pocket, and so I'm going to talk about several different things. It's not just going to be, oh, okay, well, here's how to shoot this spare, how to shoot that spare. You can figure that out because everybody shoots spares differently. But as far as we're going to talk about shot shape, or we're going to talk about that in the other video. This is the next one. So we're going to talk about how to get to the pocket more consistently, which is going to give you more makeable spares. And then getting those spares, we're going to talk about some of the numbers behind that, and we're going to talk about a little bit about handicap and why you should actually average higher. You know, people think handicap is good or the more handicap is better, but it's not. You actually get less. The more handicap you get, the less handicap you get, if that makes any sense. So we're going to talk about that. That's going to be a pretty good one. It's actually kind of long, but we're going to talk a bunch of numbers in that one. The next one is going to kind of pair off of that. It's going to be how to line up. A lot of people ask me, okay, well, which ball should I start with? How should I, when this ball starts doing this, where should I move, or what should I do, or should I stay here and slow my speed down, or change balls, or should I move here, or should I do this? And there's a lot of it's experience, but there are a whole lot of techniques that I'm going to show you how to basically read your ball. I'm going to help you read ball reaction. I'm going to help you line up. I'm going to help you, kind of play with your angles, and that's going to, the angle of rotation video is going to kind of play into that, and so is the spare video. I'm going to show you I think which one is it? Yeah, I think one of these, we're going to talk about a league pattern. And so, yeah, I'm getting these a little mixed up. But yeah, I think that one's teaching you how to line up and then how to make adjustments. But how to line up and how to read ball reaction. And, on a house shot, you can have several different balls kind of strike. You can make them strike from the same spot. But, you're talking about maximizing miss room, and you're talking about, we're going to talk about how house patterns are built. And a lot of people will just kind of fling the ball at the gutter, and it hooks too much, and so then they move inside instead of not throwing the ball so far outside. So they open their angles up, and then all of a sudden, if they tug one a little bit, it sails on them. And so then they think they need to change balls, and then, they try to get it to the friction on the outside more consistently, and then they circle the whole lane, and then they get one that's way too far right, and then they just kind of trap themselves instead of squaring their angles up and understanding exactly how the shot works. So I'm going to teach you a technique that I've kind of had called throwing at the corner, which is just a super easy basic layout adjustment lining up technique that I find works on absolutely everything. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. The next one is going to be a video on how to increase your carry percentage. And this is something that Tish and I talked about, but anybody who tells you you can't practice carry is wrong. They're just wrong, because carry has everything to do with matching up. And you'll hear that term a lot now is, well, I got to have the right ball in my hand. Well, it's not just having the right ball. It's having the ball in combination with where you're standing and how you're throwing it that creates the right shape through the pins that adds that hit. There's not any special balls that, people ask me, well, how hard does the ball hit? Well, it can either hit like a wet marshmallow, or it can hit like a dump truck, or a ton of bricks, or whatever people say stuff hits like. You can get that out of the same ball, and it's just, it might be the right ball, it might be the wrong ball, you might be in the wrong part of the lane, but we're going to talk about how to actually increase your carry percentage, get more of those off hits, get more of those high hits, and how to really read your ball reaction and see what's going on. And matter of fact, there's a lot of people that ask me too. It's like, okay, well, Columbia had the aftershock technology, or whatever they said that was supposed to, throw pins around more, and then Dynamicore is kind of a running thing with Brunswick, and well, when's Storm going to do something like that? Well, they're not. As far as last time I talked to Chad McLean, but USB-C sets limits on something called coefficient of restitution, which is basically how much kinetic energy is, it's a rebound effect, basically, is the easiest way to put it, is how springy is the ball, or how much is, when the ball hits something, how much energy is going to be transferred into that. Well, you can't have, you could make bowling balls that are a little bit springier and kind of kick more energy into the pins, but then they'd be flying all over the place, and so that's one of those other things that USB-C actually has rules on, so you can't make balls that you just flat can't. You're not able to. They have to stay within certain limits. That's part of the whole testing thing. So when you have stuff like that, or Dynamicore makes stuff hit harder, I mean, it might kind of shift some things around, but there's limits to literally limits to how hard balls can hit, basically. So some of that stuff is a little bit more marketing, but so we're gonna talk about that, and I think that's gonna be good. And then I do kind of have a set arsenal now, or at least I have one bag that I take everywhere now. I was shuffling things in and out, and I'm trying to learn new stuff, and some stuff that was great on the right side of the lane isn't so great over here, and even some stuff like I used to use the crap out of the IQ Tour before, and I'm finding out that the Pro Motion is now more the it ball, and the IQ is not quite strong enough for me to use on a daily basis on most stuff, and so it was a ball that I used on everything, period. That was my ball. That and the High Road Pearl were the it balls last time I bowled Lefty, and now I think the oils are thicker, they're using more, or something like that, so I actually don't get down to those very much. It's been Pro Motion and Astrophysics and Trend quite a bit here lately. So yeah, I've got that ready to write, and so I'm going to film all these next week and do some things with that. Let me check my questions here and see what we're... Oh yeah, Josh, I completely forgot to, but I'll have time. I'll have time later. So let me see. Big Tamer Bowling collaboration streams coming up this week Friday. Yes, Justin. Friday night, 7 p.m. Central is when we're doing it. I'm going to set up the stream tomorrow, so it'll be up and available. So how's the plastic experiment going? Not great. What I figured out how to pick up everything else but 7 pins now. The 7 pins are still a little bit weird, and somebody asked me the other day, it's like, well, how you're literally throwing at a mark, how hard can this be? Well, lining up and setting a mark is fairly easy, and putting a mark, it's like, okay, I'm standing here, the 7 pin's there, I'm going to aim at this. Just because you're aiming at something doesn't mean that you're going to hit it. And so I have literally never thrown a ball that when I put rotation on it, or throw it like I normally throw it to, send a ball out and hook it into the pins, I've never, ever thrown a ball on either side of the lane that when you hook it, it goes straight. And so it always happens the same way. I throw a couple 7s in practice, and normally I pick them up before I really think about it, but then as soon as I set myself, I always find I dump the first one. The first one just goes, it's in the ditch at 40 feet, and that's just what it is, because I get up there and I'm looking at everything, and then my head says, well, I got to give it room, I got to give it room, I got to give it room. This is because if I put rotation on it, well, it's going to hook, so I can't throw it straight. That doesn't make any sense. And so it's just an overcompensation, kind of a subconscious control thing, to where I let go of the ball. It's left of target, so the target itself doesn't matter. It's left of target. The next one, I tug because I don't want to dump it, and so I think, okay, well, I'm going to try to straighten this one out, and then I kind of elbow it and don't give it enough room. Well, then I kind of settle down, and I'm like, okay, I've got the feel right now. But on my Thursday night league, I don't think I've left more than 3 in the night the first 3 weeks, and so I missed the first couple, and then we're fine. Last night I was 7 for 9. I missed the first 2 that I shot at. Or I think I got the first one, then I missed the next 2 because I started thinking about it. But then I picked up the rest of them the rest of the night. So I left 9 of them last night, and I picked up 7 of them. So that was very successful. So, but the spares for everything else, I've got that figured out. I was having some trouble. I missed a couple of 8 pins for some reason. I left a couple of those and missed a couple of those 2 weeks ago. Ed just flat out tugged them because I had no idea where to stand or what I was doing for those. And I'm going to try to throw plastic more on stuff because I'm going to have to get used to it anyway. And so the 7 pins are still the only real big trick that I have. So, oh yeah, Josh. So I completely forgot, when do you want to get together? I have no idea. I got busy, so I do have the next week off kind of. As soon as we get to Thursday, then we're going to have problems. But I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll send you something. Josh Franz has a huge tournament that's coming up on Halloween weekend. Just to talk about this, I'm going to get together with him and do a little promotional thing. But it's $10,000 for first place. You can find Josh Martin Franz on Facebook. Send him something if you're interested in the tournament. But we're going to get on and talk about the details or whatever, but it's in Kansas City. So if you're in the Kansas City area, it's going to be at Summit Lanes, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's $10,000 for first place. So it is a charity tournament, too. It's Striking for Smiles. So yeah, it's big money, and you're getting money to a good cause, too. So tapping out, thanks for the chat. Thanks, Rich. Well, Richard, I'll see ya. Mark Kuhn. Hey, Luke, now bowling lefty. My oil track on the ball indicates I'm throwing a semi-spinner. Should I be concerned and try to correct it or correct it later when I'm more able to? I'd worry more on consistency right now. I wouldn't start playing with stuff too much, because if you can't consistently execute in the first place, trying to change something that's not quite comfortable might develop bad habits. And so that's something that I've been not necessarily struggling with, but it's hard to kind of stay home and say, you know, I'm not really capable of doing this yet. The one thing that I keep trying to do is to rev the ball up more. And that's not, I don't quite have the speed for it yet. And so I'm still trying to convince myself, it's like, you know what, you're going to leave some flat stuff. And that's the other thing, is I want to rev the ball more so that I don't have to pick up 7 pins. And so if I just kind of let go of the ball nice and easy, I'm going to leave some more flat stuff. But I should do that until I get the consistency and coordination developed. And I find myself trying to hit up on it a little bit too much too often. So, oh crap, skipped. Oh yeah, who won the shootout last night? Dustin Neely against Chinoa. We had another successful shootout in our neck of the woods. In Topeka, we have a little 3-game sweeper, and then we cut to a top 16 bracket and go on. It's at Gage Bowl in Topeka, Kansas. If you're in the area or close and want something to do, the first and third Fridays of the month. If there is a fifth Friday, we have Baker doubles. But the regular ones on the first and third Fridays are singles format, but we do have optional doubles. We have brackets, we have side pots, we have all kinds of stuff. So, oh man. I will sometimes find myself drifting during the approach. Any tips to correct this? A lot of people drift. Brian Kretzer. Go find some videos on him. Tom Smallwood. Those guys drift like crazy. I don't think it's anything that you need to correct. I'd say just work with it. Most of the time you do need to kind of drift a little bit to kind of open your shoulders up, and some people drift to the right too, so it just really depends. Can you give a quick paragraph on why the MVP attitude is the daddy ball? This is something I've been thinking about. I've got one. I'm soon to order one. I'm going to kind of refit the one that I had right-handed, and I figured out the best way to put this. The MVP attitude is our Venom Shock. Is exactly what it is. The numbers are very similar. I keep forgetting that the Venom Shock's like a 255 RG. I think that's about what the attitude is. The attitude is the do-everything ball. It's one of those things like the Venom Shock for the motive guys, is they kind of throw everything else, and if nothing else works, well, they know that the Venom Shock's there and it's going to do work. You can throw it from straight, you can rev it up, it doesn't quit, it doesn't seem to have any limits, really. When I'm testing a ball, I can find limits on everything else. It's like, okay, well, I can't throw it this straight because it hooks too much, or, you know, I can't get much past this certain arrow because it starts slowing down too much, or the hit suffers, or whatever else. The MVP attitude, if you go back and watch that video, I'm just kind of flopping it out there and not doing much to it. If you watch some of the older videos, even some of the recent ones, like the nuclear cell, I was just banging, just hammering on that. The UFO, whatever else, I was getting handfuls of. But by the time I got to the attitude, it's kind of like, oh, this doesn't work anymore. And so I'm just kind of flopping it down there, and especially since I've been doing the lefty thing, and the righty thing just isn't there anymore. And so I just kind of flip it out there, and I'm like, okay, well, this looks pretty good from straight, and then I start moving in, and I'm just letting go of it, and it's like, okay, well, that looks good, and then I'd get one out, and it wouldn't burn up. I mean, it wasn't like terribly sharp either. It would still maybe 9-pin or trip 4 or something like that. But I'm like, well, that's good news, because with anything else, it would have been a big 4 instead of a trip 4. And so I'm like, okay, well, it gets back with energy. It's not burning up. It's not hooking too much. And then I keep getting deeper, and then I'd play one in a little bit closer. I'm like, okay, we're just going to kind of fade spin this one through the middle, and it'd pick up and drive. And then I kept getting deeper, and not really, I mean, I'd slowed my speed down a little bit, and I'd rev it up just a little bit more. But I'm like, well, this is just easy mode. I'm just flopping this out there, just literally just nice and easy right out of it. And I haven't had a ball feel that comfortable in a long time. And even though the rest of these that have been coming out, and despite a lot of the stuff that I'm throwing right now, they all have limits. The MVP Attitude just doesn't seem to have any limits anywhere, period. I mean, you can play anywhere with it. It's kind of a nice blend between smooth and rolly and flippy and whatever else. It gets down the lane, but it doesn't get down the lane too far. It's punchy down lane, but it's not too strong. It's not like terribly quick on friction, but it's not too slow. You can play straight with it. I've seen several people throwing it too, and one of them, she just kind of walks it down and in, and she's got a lot of punch with it, and it picks up, and it drives well. And there's some people that get deep and swing it, and it looks amazing from there too. I just haven't found anything that this was a quick paragraph. Silly rabbit, these tricks are for kids. But I haven't found any limits with it. I don't know if I'll find any limits on the left side, but that is the one thing, if I can say nothing else about the ball, it acts a lot like our Venom Shock, and I haven't found anything that it can't do without having to help it too much. There's some other stuff like the idle naturally doesn't like a whole lot of angle, but if you slow roll it like Chris Prather, it's going to work. But it doesn't naturally want to do that. It's something like the IQ Tour. It doesn't naturally want to cover a bunch of boards. If you slow it down and really get around it, it will do it. But the Attitude does so much on its own by itself without you really having to help it or saying, okay, well, it'll do it if I really want it to. But otherwise, not quite. So, man, the Attitude is just a monster. You throw the U at the spares. I need to throw something else. I think I'm figuring out the plastic. I literally think I'm figuring out the plastic. Oh, God. You're in the trench run of a Death Star flying an X-Wing. Schlemmin the Falcon has taken out any remaining pins. What rotor grip ball do you throw down the Death Star's exhaust port to blow it up? The nuclear cell. Because it's nuclear. Ha! What's up? Finally, Michigan gets the bull. Yeah. Hey, Luke, how do you think the Rubicon will fare for a 500 rev rate bowler? Well, let me tell you, Mr. James Niffen, Shimwrecker Enterprises has a 500-plus rev rate. The pin-up ball he drilled was really quick, but he's like, this looks really good, it's just too quick. So he drilled one pin down, and he bowled a tournament this weekend, and he shot 1539 for doubles and singles, which is a pin under 770 a set, which is an average of 256.6. 6 repeating, whatever. For the double and single set. So yeah, 1540 is huge. Austin Bold told me he loved the nuclear cell, probably at 2,000 or 3,000 though. I would. Austin definitely does not have a shiny nuclear cell that he likes. Let me put it that way. Do you think tweaking finger thumb pitches can help raise or lower a bowler's track? This is something I really, really hate, and I know that some people do it, but I would never, ever, ever use fit to try to manipulate a release or something mechanical. I would never do that. Because then it's at a point where it's forcing you to do something. It may not be comfortable. It may not be good for your hand. It may not even be good for your game. You may not even, despite you wanting to do it, it may not be something that you should do. So I really don't like using fit to kind of manipulate something mechanically. Need to get different lights. These things just burn me up here. Let's see. Curtis, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's a control. One ball doesn't pop like I wanted. If you can't get the nuclear cell to turn sideways, there's something drastically wrong. It's drilled wrong, or the conditions aren't right for it, or you're not throwing it right or something, because that's what the nuke does. The nuke goes boom boom. That's what it does. So, okay, I missed this one. Is it smart to drill everything the same for a tournament bag and a league bag? Yes and no. For a tournament bag, probably not so much. And this is something that I told everybody a couple weeks ago. I have a super special stream coming up, actually next Friday, with Tamer Bowling and James Niffen. On Friday, we're all going to be in the same place at the same time. So we're having a super stream next weekend, and we're having it in a den at Aaron's Family Fun Center in Belton. They've got lanes in there, and they've got, you know, kind of couches and whatever. It's kind of a nice upscale little section that they have in that bowling alley for parties and stuff. And they're putting down Kegel chromium. Thank you for somebody telling me the right pattern finally. They kept saying it was arsenic, and well, it's chromium, you guys. Okay, so it's chromium. So we're gonna bowl on something in the den, and so we'll probably talk shop for a little while, and then we'll get the camera down the lanes. And James has got some stuff he's working on. He needs to get rid of that negative tilt. Tamer's trying to work on getting behind the ball a little bit more and not coming around the side of it so much. I'm trying to work on coming around the side a little bit more without ripping the cover off of it. So we got some things we're going to work on, and we might actually get out there and have something productive rather than us just kind of sitting there and talking. But back up to that question. Smart to drill everything for the same for a tournament bag and a league bag. There's a bunch of stuff that I'm getting ready to drill for tournaments, and I think that they're going to look fairly different because I have specific things in mind. For a league bag, I will drill everything the same. It kind of ensures consistency from ball to ball, so you kind of get a similar. It's hard to say because all the balls are different, but you're going to get a similar or familiar type of feel, but the ball itself is going to be the difference. So I like going with very similar, and the pros do this a lot too. They have like 2 or 3 layouts that they use. They found the stuff that really likes for them and that really works for them and that they like in certain circumstances. And so they know if I take this layout and put it on this type of a ball, I'm going to get this type of reaction. So for league stuff, no, do not install now. So for league stuff, generally I drill everything the same. So that also allows me in the review videos to see exactly what the differences are. Because if I have like an axiom that's pin up and then I drill the axiom pearl pin down or whatever, I'm not really getting that accurate a comparison. I know what the difference is going to be and I can tell, but it's going to be something that you're going to have experience with, or say, okay, well, if I would have drilled this pin up, it would have been a little bit flippier or a little bit earlier or whatever else. Yes, pin up stuff is earlier because it's more aggressive. It raises the differential, lowers the RG, so the ball is going to move. It's going to rev up and roll earlier, and it's also going to punch more on the back end. Going pin down delays everything because it raises the RG and it also drops the differential, so the ball is going to get through the fronts a little bit earlier, and then it's going to be a little bit smoother or slower down lane. Really, it's the ball is going to transition through the different phases of ball motion slower on pin down stuff. Everybody used to think pin down rolls earlier. It does not. Anyhow, but yeah, for tournament bags, you're looking for more specific. I think I actually touch on that in some of my in my angular rotation video where I'm talking about specific ball rolls and stuff like that. In tournaments, you're looking for specifics. That's when you start building bags based on specific shapes and specific reactions. So then you would probably start to drill stuff a little bit different. So in my tournament bags, I always make sure I want to have something pinned down, something in a lefty bag, probably going to do a short pin of some sort. I don't know what it's going to be on yet. But I do have some. The other big stream that I forgot to mention is I have a bunch of overseas balls, and I have a bunch of phases that are staring at me, and I just got a new one that I'm going to show you here in a minute. I just got 2 new ones, actually, I'm going to show you here in a minute. But my phases are going to be kind of my tournament sport bags or sport balls for the most part. And so I'm going to have a big stream here in a couple weeks where I drill all of them, but they are going to have some different layouts on them. I'm not just going to put the 5-inch pin on every single one of them and be done with it, because I'm intending those to be for tournament patterns, sport patterns, where I've got oil outside and more oil than normal. And so I am going to put some different layouts on those. So let me see. Speaking of that, my latest 2 phases, and that's going to be a long stream too. I don't even know how we're going to do that. That's going to last like 5 hours, because between me drilling how many balls? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm drilling 7 balls anyway. I don't know if I'll wait to drill the 0 gravity then 2 or not. But I have at least 7 balls I'm drilling in that one stream. And they don't take very long if I just drill them and get done with them. But I'm going to be doing the stream, and so we're going to be talking and chatting back and forth. And people will be crying. People will be crying. Because I'm putting holes in a lot of money, number one. But number 2, I've got some rare stuff and some gems I'm putting some holes in. So I did finally get a phase 3 that I'm going to put holes in. But here's number 1. Thanks to Mr. Nick Brown from SRG BBFS, which is Storm Roto Grip Bowling Balls, for sale on Facebook. If you aren't on with them now, vetoing this one, we were not doing that. Battery will not last, and neither will my arms. Well, that's a fair point. We'll see. I might have to go a little bit faster. We might just do a 2-hour stream, and I might just actually not screw off. So, Mr. Nick Brown, Storm Roto Grip Bowling Balls for sale. Actually, we can set the tripod up with this camera. Storm Roto Grip Bowling Balls for sale is on Facebook. It's a everything Storm site. You can buy, sell, trade, international stuff. He's got a couple different pages. But he actually did not have one of these and ordered one of these for me from Japan. This is a phase 0, and I'm going to try to keep this lower and out of the, because I know if I go up there that I'm going to get into the picture. So this is a phase 0. It's the same colors as the phase tour. Actually, let me take this. I'm going to take this down here for a second. Edit scenes. Remove. Save scenes. Poof! It's gone. It's gone. Anyway, so this is a phase 0. It's got the same colors as the phase tour, so it's the kind of black, and let's see, it's black, royal, and cherry, and I'm pretty sure that that's what this is. Yeah, it's black, royal, and cherry, so it's the same colors, it's just not shiny. But phase 0, it actually smells the same too, I'm pretty sure. That's blueberry, and this one's blueberry. So yeah, both the phase tour and the phase 0 are blueberry, same colors. The difference is that that's got, the phase tour has GI 18 pearl on it. This has GI 17 solid, so this is the Sherlock cover. If you remember the Sherlock from a couple years ago, this is the Velocity core from the Phase series, and it has the Sherlock cover on it. So that's what we're looking like here. And so this is going to be not quite as torquey as the Sherlock, but it's a strong ball. It's stronger than a Phase, but it should feel, or a Phase 2. It should feel fairly familiar to the Phase 2. It might be a little springier, but it's going to be a little more ball. But I actually have the latest Phase 2 that I drilled for me righty. I'm going to retrofit that, and that's actually pinned down. It's going to be about a 5 3/8, 5.5 inch pin down. So I'm going to have that to contrast off of my Phase 0 here. And this is all, another thing that I want to point out right now is that I also started doing something called, I thought GI 18 was Sherlock. No, I think it was 17, because the Sherlock's actually a little bit older than, let me check. Because I've had some people ask me about that, because that was the Storm Bowling. Balls, not logged in, classic, sure. Come on. Nope. Where's that? Okay. Why is it not on here? Where's the Sherlock? Oh, man. Alright, let's see here. eBay. Interesting. Sherlock Storm Bowling. I don't know why it's not up there. Symmetrical weight block. Come on. Tech sheet. I don't know why this is taking so long. GI 17 solid. On the Sherlock, GI 17 solid. So this does have the Sherlock cover on the phase core. So yes, this was very cool. I am going to... There was something that I started with the Marvel Max Force. I'm doing something called Top Shelf Reviews, but the thing with this is that I'm only providing them for my Patreon Discord members, or just my Patreon members that also happen to be in the Patreon-specific Discord. Storm does sponsor my reviews, so when a new ball comes out, they send me a couple of balls for the reviews, for me and Angel to do the reviews. But the international stuff, I pay the same price everybody else pays. And so this ball was heckin' expensive. Everybody knows what the overseas stuff costs. Most of the time it's, $300, anywhere from $275 to $350 shipped normally. This one, since he got it from Japan, was a little bit more expensive, but in the $350 range. And so whenever I get something like this, or a Phase Frenzy that's staring at me, or the Phase G or the Phase Tour, it costs a lot. So, but like I told everybody, I don't have a boat, I don't have a fancy car, I don't have a whole bunch of anything else. My wife and I's hobby, sadly, or maybe not sadly, it's kind of fun, is bowling. And so that's what we spend our money on. So somebody might say, oh, well, gosh, you're going to, put holes in a $350 bowling ball. Nobody should do that. It's like, well, I also don't have a Camaro or a boat or a big truck to pull my boat around with. So when we spend money, it's on bowling balls. And we literally don't go out and do anything else. We don't have any... we don't gamble. We don't have any other hobbies. We do bowling balls. And so if I spend a little bit extra money on a bowling ball, then that's no different than what somebody else does. So it's just a hobby thing. And so because I had wanted to collect some of this stuff, and I'm sitting here staring at it, and a lot of this stuff's been on the shelf for, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 months. I think I got that Frenzy a year ago and the G about a year ago. And it's just been sitting there in a box. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, this is taking up shelf space. I really like having it, but it's just going to sit there until something happens with it or I decide to sell it, in which case, I mean, cool, I can get some money back for it, but I'm just going to buy more overseas bowling balls. So I'm like, you know what? We're just going to drill them. We're just going to drill them and enjoy them instead of, letting them sit there and staring at them all the time, walking past them and just taking up shelf space, or just selling them, in which case there was no point in buying them in the first place. So I'm just going to drill them, and they're going to be my tournament arsenal because the phases are amazing. So, but that's going to be the thing with that, is I am still going to make review videos for all of these, but because they cost me a significant amount extra, I'm only going to make the review videos available for my patrons. So sorry to everybody that's not a patron. Maybe you should be one. It's fun. People enjoy it, and most of the time I've already put up all these scripts for the videos I'm doing, so everybody's been able to read them and see what's coming out. And I put, when I'm designing thumbnails or the little pictures that you see when you click on the video, I kind of put those up and ask for ideas, and we talk about all kinds of stuff. And there's several people that have joined here recently and thought, I'll try it out or whatever. And they're like, oh wow, this is awesome. So, of course, I'm going to tell you it's awesome. But a lot of the other people that have just joined, a lot of people I have that have been with me for a long time, and they all enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun, and we have a chat server with several different channels. We have a dog-specific channel in there. So we have one that's the Doggo Puppers that we just post nothing but dog pictures in there. So there's that too. But the top shelf reviews, and Storm's kind of iffy on me promoting stuff that you can't just walk into a pro shop and buy anyway. They understand it's a big market, and they know that, if you're out there buying a Storm ball, they're happy. But some people are like, well, I like that ball, I want that ball, why can't I just go into a pro shop and buy it? And that's actually something that Schlem and I talked about. I've talked about it with Chad before, but Schlem actually touched on it again in that interview that I just posted earlier. So yeah, thanks, Joe. Yep, best $5 you can spend. And the other part of it is too is they only charge your card once a month. And so you get kind of a free look, and there's a bunch of stuff. Patreon is not the greatest. It's more of a filter or just a gateway to Discord. But I do post some stuff on Patreon. Patreon's kind of a glorified Facebook feed, and so if you post something, there's not really something you can... I don't have like different tabs on a website where you can go into coaching videos or ball reaction videos or this kind of videos or whatever. It just ends up wherever it ends up in the timeline, so you got to kind of scroll back and look for stuff. But we do have a content feed in Discord as well that kind of helps tighten that up a little bit. And also, like I said, they only charge your card once a month, and they do it at the first of the month. And so if you signed up now and you went back and saw the stuff and you got in Discord and thought, wow, this is cool, I want to stick with this, then you can stay with it. And if you decide it's not really your thing, then you can just cancel, no harm, no foul. It's a monthly thing. There's no kind of sign up for a yearly subscription. You're locked in forever. But yeah, you can literally go sign up today and, you know, hang out for the next 2 weeks. And if you like it, stay there. And if you don't, no harm, no foul. It's just something that's... I'm not trying to talk people into it and make a bunch of extra money on it. It's $5 a month, so I'm not making a mint there anyway.
And they take a cut.
Yeah, and they take a cut. But it's just there for people who want that little bit extra. That's what it is. So, but because all these overseas balls cost me like $350 a piece, because that's what they cost. We don't you know, when it comes to international stuff, I say that I pay the same price everybody else does. So the top shelf reviews will be Patreon only, but if you're interested in that, the Marvel Max Force, I just posted that. So if you do want to sign up and kind of check it out and see what you're getting, see what you're missing or what you could be getting, check that out. That'll be cool. Anyway, enough talking about Patreon, because I have another pretty ball to show off. It's another phase. Shocker, shocker. And oh man, do you know Nick sent the... Well, it's not here yet, but Nick sent the pictures. I can show that. I can show the frickin' pictures.
Well, I was gonna go
Yeah.
with the one I actually have.
$5 troll filter. Yes, exactly. Well, that one doesn't look like... Or yeah, go get that one and I can show that one, the other one. But yes, it's a $5. It's, I mean, literally, it's a $5 troll filter. That's the first thing that I thought of, is that, you know, if I can charge just a couple bucks, Oh, okay. It's like, well, $5 a month. I'm not, you know, I'm not ruining anybody if you can't part with a $5 bill. But if you go into these other, like maybe Reddit or some of these other places that have these free forums and people just sign up to troll and then they delete so many accounts and then more people sign up and troll, nobody's going to sign up and actually pay money to troll people on a bowling ball site. And so it filters out all the toxicity and all the trolling and all whatever else. Aside from the fact of having a lot of people in there, and the newer members that we've had here in the last couple months, got to know them pretty well already, and they post a lot, and so it makes things livelier. But yeah, we post a bunch. We post a bunch in there all the time, and we have some, you know, guess my score contest for like a chamois or something every once in a while too. And then we have like the Greater KC Open. We have a bunch of people from Discord and Patreon that are coming in, aside from Tamer. But James is on there and he helps run my stuff. And Mr. Bill Walker and Carlos and Tourney was coming, but Tourney can't make it anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, we're not gonna know. And then who else do we have? I'm drawing a blank here. Joe, yeah, Joe, duh. Joe's coming down.
We've got 2 locals that are going to come.
Yeah, we got 2 locals we're going to have there. But I think that's kind of everybody. Yeah, right. Yeah, Riley's not on here right now, but yes, Joe's going to make it. He's bringing Maddie, I believe.
No. He decided not to because he was concerned about her being boarding for that one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But everybody's getting goat soap too, so that's another perk. That's a big perk.
And I'm going to get a package of cards.
Big perk. And yeah, and a package of the bowl. And I remember I had the stream where I opened all those cards, the old vintage bowling cards. Everybody's going to get a pack of those too. So how can you beat that?
We're going to be out though, so this will be the last.
Yeah, it's the last one too. I'm out of them after that. So I mean, join Patreon, come bowl tournaments, and get goat soap and bowling cards.
Well, no more bowling cards.
I mean, well, we can find more. I don't know. Anyway, we're talking about phases. This is something else I got from Mr. Nick Brown. I got the pink one. Pink one, and it's pretty. It smells like cranberry. It's not a... It's kind of a fainter... It's cranberry chill or cranberry something, but it's not very strong.
Oh, I actually like that.
So yeah,
It's
this
not
is...
strong.
Yeah, it's not very strong, and so it's got... This is actually R2S hybrid. So this...
Pearl.
No.
Oh.
This is the IQ Tour Fusion cover.
Well, now I don't have one.
Yep.
Because I wanted that.
Pink phase. I wanted one too, but we didn't have the $300 to spend at the time when they came out.
No, I wanted
last year.
The Fusion.
Yeah. You
I
have
want
a
to redo
you
it.
you have a fusion. It's the IQ Tour Rising.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Yes. R2S
remember that.
R2S hybrid. That's why I wanted it, because I never had a fusion.
Screw you, it's mine.
Yeah, I know.
You got the pink one.
So yeah, pink phase.
So we should drill mine, and you should
Look at
drill
that.
that. We should have a
Yeah.
bowl off.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, we'll put holes in the IQ Tour Rising too. Fusion, yes. Yeah, Urn awakens. Big Urn. I hope he's not watching. I'm gonna drill it anyway. Heck 'em. All right. So the R2S phase. Now the first runs. This is actually. They had the first runs, which were the kind of pastel colors. I'm sweating
Turn your fan on.
like heck. That makes noise. I don't know what's. There's something on over here. Oh no, it's the computer. Anyhow.
But I need to get you a small little.
Yeah, I need a fan.
We'll look for that. I'll get you.
This is hard work down here. All right. So anyway, get me my drag my other phase down there.
I know.
That's my old phase too.
I need the numbers because I'm
No.
working on the ball horse.
Okay.
Yes, I want
So they had the original first batch run of phases, and they were kind of different, and some people liked them, some people didn't, because it's a pearl, but it was pretty smooth. It's almost like if you took a Crux Prime and you mirror shined it. That was the original phase. And it's still one of my favorites, and I found, and this is the funny thing, because I liked the first batches, the original ones that came out,
grab
and
that one. I'm gonna
yeah,
hold them both up together.
and nobody else liked them for some reason.
Right here.
And so these are cheap, or relatively cheap.
You gonna trade
Yeah.
since you're talking about that one?
So, so I can still find these. People still have them, and they're relatively inexpensive. So I'm going to get more of these. But then they had the next ones, and these kind of transferred into no, not yet. They kind of transfer into overseas balls. So they have, instead of the AX16 Pearl, they put R2S Pearl on some of them. But and this I need to put some acetone on, or some kind of alcohol or something, because the orange has phased a little bit. But the other side, I mean, this is just the coolest. This is okay. So there's the regular logo that's got the sparkles and stuff. But then you see that, and then we get down to just, I mean, it's just the coolest thing I've ever seen. Watching this ball go down the lane is just, it's just unreal. This is super, super awesome. I'm going to find more of these, but this is one that I really can't wait to drill, because I know exactly what I'm getting. This is the R2S Pearl phase. So yeah, you can spin that one around, especially in the blue, because this one's got like more of a, this one's like an ocean blue or something like that. That's a lot darker blue. These are again, this is more like pastel colors or something. But that's the R2S Pearl phase, and this is the AX16 Pearl phase. And this is a good illustration of when Chad's talking about sometimes different cover materials hold color different than other ones. This would be a good this would be a good illustration of that, because they put the same colors in this one that are on that one. It's just with the different cover material, and that's why this got called the phase to begin with, because there was color phasing. And so that's what you see in this is kind of color loss, but you can bring this back. It kind of whites out, or like if you put a ProMotion in a detox, it comes out white, and then as soon as you put a little... Yeah, Spec kind of does that anyway. But they noticed color phasing, or this kind of whitening of the colors, and so that's part of why it got the name phase to begin with. But this one is just, man, super, super awesome. Okay.
I needed to do this in phases.
Yeah, so that one's getting holes. Like I said, I just got a phase 3. I got a phase Frenzy, which is GI 18 hybrid, GI 17 hybrid.
Frenzy?
Yeah, GI 18 hybrid. The phase G is AX 16 hybrid, so it's the hybrid version of the original phase cover. And then the phase tour is GI 18 Pearl. So a lot of GI variations that were on, like the Sherlock had GI on it. The Omega has GI 20. Man, this bag smells awesome. GI 20 Pearl on it. So this is what a bag of goat soap looks like, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to hold this up to the camera without dumping these things everywhere. But that's literally a bag of goat soap. Literally a bag of goat soap. So everybody that's coming to the tournament next week is getting their very own bar of goat soap. So we went out to Tar Waters, which is kind of a farm and home store around here, and we got goat soap. So is that Arctic Whisper?
Yes.
I know them by names. Like, I can just tell. You can show me the color of the bar, and I can tell you what the name of the soap is.
Okay.
That's Lemongrass Verbena.
Quiz.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, people.
Yep. That's Jasmine Night. I don't know why I'm proud of this. And they looked at us so funny when we walk in there and walk out with 6. That's Orange Clove. No, Sexy Sandalwood.
You got one wrong, though.
Well, but I saw the orange and I just went for that.
Yeah, but you still got one wrong.
It's not wrong. I knew exactly what it was after I took a second.
Nope. Doesn't count.
She's wrong. Cucumber melon.
You still got one wrong.
I did not get one wrong.
Take a vote, everyone. Did he get one wrong?
Definitely not. Goat soap. That's something you don't see every day. Yeah.
And this is what our multiple trips of Branson now cost.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad when I walk into they had a soap store down in the Grand Village at Branson. I walked in there and I said, "Do you have a goat soap?" Or I said, "Point me to the goat soap." And he's like, "We have an entire goat soap section." So, yeah. Goat milk soap. I have dry skin and it's hard finding something that hydrates, so. Oh my god, this is going so far off the rails. No more coffee.
It's not the coffee.
But anyway, that's kind of like my calling card. So anybody that comes to see me and that comes to bowl a tournament from out of town or whatever, they get a bar of goat soap. It's just amazing, life-changing stuff. So, are some overseas balls USBC certified? Yes, they're all USBC certified, but some of them, depending on what they are not allowed in PBA competition unless you're bowling overseas. I think there's been a couple times where when they've had the Tokyo Cup or whatever, I can't remember what it's called, but when they bowl in Tokyo, they can use the overseas or international balls over there, and I think that a couple times they have drilled some of the international balls while they were over there to use in the Daido Japan Cup or whatever. I think. No, I'm good. Man, yeah. It's a Japanese. It's a Japanese PBA tournament. Or it's considered the Daido Japan Cup, I think is the last thing, is what I'm kind of pulling a blank, but I think that's what it is. But oh yeah, and I gotta get into here, and that's the other picture I was looking for to show you Angel's next R2S Pearl phase that's on the way. This thing is heckin' ridiculousness. So this is the one that she's got on the way from Mr. Nick Brown, the R2S Pearl phase. Bang. Bang. So that's super vibrant colors on that one. I mean, it's just way too cool for words. So anyhow, yeah, I was thinking DHC too, but it was the Daido Japan Cup at some point. Put my Whoops. No, I haven't saved it yet. So we're just going to leave that down. Never mind. But they're all USB-C certified. Now, if a ball is the same ball that has been previously approved by USB-C here, but if it's just a color name variation, something like one of the High Road Pearl variants, they can actually use, even though it's an international ball, they can use that in PBA competition, or something like a code 0 or a secret code that's a code black, just with different colors and a different name. They can actually use those, but if it's a cover core combination that we don't have over here that hasn't been PBA approved over here, then they can't use that one in tour competition. So all right, so I got through all of that. Unless we have any final questions, we might just call it a night here before I keep rambling about goat soap. Unless you guys want to hear about goat soap. I mean, it's amazing and everything, but so yeah, I've got that on the block, and then I have a zero gravity that I'm going to drill, which is very interesting, seeing as how we're talking Rubicon stuff. It was a mild asim. The virtual, or the zero gravity, was actually a very different core from all the rest of them. It's got a 255 RG, which is kind of on the medium high side. It's got an 035 differential, which is barely higher than the IQ Tour Series, and it's got an 010 intermediate differential, or PSA strength, which is right in the middle. Actually, the Rubicon's got a little bit stronger core, or as stronger asymmetry. It's a .011 instead of a .010. So, man, y'all want to know more about goat soap? Sword Nano X is the Overseas IQ Nano Solid. Yes, and Angel actually has one of those down here, and it's Caribbean cooler on the scent. Yeah, find some goat soap. Seriously, find some goat soap. I didn't like bar soap and everything else. I'd still just get dry skin and have to put, I'd get out of the shower and feel all scratchy and itchy and have to put lotion on whatever else. With the goat soap, it feels great, and I didn't think I'd get used to bar soap. Couldn't stand it. Even some of the hydrated, the stuff that says it hydrates, moisturizes, whatever else, goat soap is beyond that. So, what are some good exercises before you practice, before league, and before tournaments? Most bowlers don't do any kind of exercises. They should. They have a lot of colleges are really good with this. And you should be able to, if you get onto YouTube, I think Brad and Kyle might have some stuff on that, but I know that Shannon O'Keefe, I'm pretty sure, has done some videos on that, but they also have some other stuff out there. So if you look pre-bowling exercises or something, there's actually some good videos out there about that. So I would recommend, instead of me rambling at you, go watch the videos, and they'll actually show you how to do the exercises. So definitely check that out. Yeah, definitely Shannon. Shannon's big into that stuff, so and I should stretch out and exercise more than I do. I imagine I would do something like a couple of jumping jacks and kind of stretch my legs out and stretch my arms out, and then take it really slow the first several shots in practice. Some people just get out the gate and go full speed, and if they're not like striking in two balls, then like, well, I'm not going to be striking until like halfway through the first game, or realistically comfortable. But just get loose and get warmed up and whatever else. So where can I get an IQ Tour Fusion from? That is the hot topic. That is the hot topic right now. They're expensive. You can get srgbbfs or not .com, srgbbfs on Facebook at Storm Roto Grip Bowling Balls for sale. It is a group. Go find it. Post something looking for an IQ Tour Fusion. You're going to pay about $350 for one, but you can definitely find one. Can you see the IQT? Can the IQTS be in the same bag as the Nano Pearl? I have no idea if I've asked you that before. Yes, definitely. The Nano Pearl is quite a bit stronger. The Nano Pearl is quite a bit stronger than the IQTS, and the shapes are a little bit different too. So, yeah, hoping and praying that they redo the Fusion with the Emerald. Yeah, I really hope that they... But man, they keep making balls that they shouldn't discontinue. And I think we talked about, that's another thing that I talked about with Schlem. We had a very, very interesting conversation. I had some questions planned and whatever else, and we spent more time on rabbit trails and off the rails, but we got into some really good stuff that's the behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't normally talk about, like, why does a ball get discontinued? And I asked him a couple of them. I said, so what did you think was going to be great, and what did you not think was going to do so great and ended up going gangbusters? And he said that the Hypercell Skid was actually one of the worst selling balls that they had right after the Hypercell, and it was big, and they were kind of worried about it because they had the original cell, and then they had the Cell Pearl, and then they had the Rogue Cell, and then it kind of went away for a little while, and Schlem, the wheels got to turn, and he's like, you know what? We still got this core was great. Everybody liked the balls. Now we've got some new cover technology, and we're starting to get into some big, strong stuff. He's like, I think I can do this again. And he said, Hank said, well, I don't know about that. It's been gone for a while. We're on to different things and whatever. He's like, yeah, but the cells were popular, and I think this could be good. And so the Hypercell came out, and it was crazy. I mean, it was crazy. It was a huge ball for Rotogrip, and so that kind of surprised a lot of people. And so then he goes to do the Hypercell Skid, and he's like, man, Hypercell was popular, whatever else. It's going to be it's pearlized cover. And he said that the name Skid specifically kind of threw some people off because, like, well, I don't want a ball to skid. And he's like, well, yeah, but it's not. Hypercell was kind of like a beefed up cell, and that made sense. And Hypercell Skid, he's like, it's going to skid through the front, and it's going to, pop more on the back end. Or it's going to be a Hypercell that's more of a long and boomy type look. And it just didn't work. It just didn't work. And I told him that was kind of the funny thing, because when the Hypercell Fuse came out, all anybody wanted to know is how it compared to the Skid. But it was kind of, I think it was one of those cult classics that nobody really appreciated until it wasn't there anymore. So, all right, what's a comfortable average you should be considering before going on tour and playing regionals? That's another video that I'm going to kind of look into doing, because I'm a super, super wall baby right now on the left side. And like I said, there's that one league that I'm averaging 230 in right now on Thursdays, which is about what I was actually higher than average on the right side there. But I averaged about in the 230s right-handed. But when I went on bold, tougher stuff right-handed, even with the problems, whatever else I had, I could still reasonably look to shoot 210, 215 most of the time. If I go out and shoot on tougher stuff, even tougher house shots right now, or house shots that make me change and adjust some things, I'm right down to 180. Just right straight down to 180. And then, if there's a couple of spares in there that I miss or something else, and that's the big thing about being in that wall baby zone, is that you can get up to about, most people will get to about 175, and if they progress any further, then all of a sudden they go up to like 190 or 195. Rarely do people stay in the 180s for any length of time, because the difference between like 170s and 200s is really just getting better at hitting the pocket and picking up a couple more spares. Your average goes straight up. And then most people will then again, either if they get up that far, they'll stay in the 2.0 range, but then they'll go like straight to 220, because then all of a sudden they're picking up their spares, they're hitting the pocket more, but now they're starting to double or triple a couple more times a game. And so, but at the same time, there's like a good solid 230, and there's like a soft 230. So the good 230s are the ones that can average that just on a house shot just about anywhere, because they've got the tricks, they can move around, they understand ball reaction, whatever else. And then you have the soft 230s that can average 230 in their home house because they bowl with the same ball on the same pattern in the same place every single week, and they've got their shot tailor-made for that place. You take them out of town, and it's like 180s, 190s. And so there's a big difference between a good 230 and a soft 230. And I'm a very soft 230 on the left side right now, and even at my other house at Westridge, the angles are a little bit tricky, and I have trouble carrying, and so I'm actually only at 2.0 so far at Westridge. But 230 and the other house that's just set up, and that's the perfect example of being soft anywhere else. And there's a couple tournaments I went to a couple weeks ago. Granted, I was having issues with my shoulders and spares and whatever else, but I averaged like 185 for 8 games, and it was just wretched. It was miserable. But there is another video that I did, I think, not too long ago, but we talked about some stuff. No. One of these that I've been meaning to make public for a while, but I have an article on Patreon that I really want to make public. I started kind of writing a book of sorts, but there was this specific chapter that I wrote, and I named it How to Win by an Expert at Losing. And so the difference between a winner and a loser is that winners they're not afraid of losing. And I spent a lot of my time, now that I'm out of the pro shop and trying to become a tournament bowler or whatever else, or actually get to bowl more often, I always thought, well, I don't want to go bowl a regional. I don't want to go bowl any of this stuff. I don't want to, I want to wait until I get practiced up and feel like I'm ready. Well, the thing is that if you don't go and bowl that stuff, every once in a while, you don't know what you need to practice or improve at. And so what you do is you have to go get your brains beat in. And this is what one of the there's a great bowler in the area. His name's Tom Patton. He's a frickin' hoot. He's hilarious. But he's been there. He's done that. He's a tournament bowler. He's got the mindset for it. He had a lot of success. And even though he's in his 50s now, he's still having a lot of success. And he used to travel around with another guy that has since had some health problems, and but he used to travel around with another guy, and they used to mop up stuff between them. They'd pool stuff, or if there was doubles tournaments, they'd go do that, and they just cleaned up all over the place. And that the other guy, Mark Birkenbein, he said, you know what, some of the best advice he ever got is like, you know what, yeah, you're kind of mopping up this stuff here, but there's no better way to learn than to go bowl a couple of PBA events and get your brains beat in for a couple weeks, and then see how much better you are at the regular kind of amateur traveling around stuff. And so what you have to do is you have to consider it a lesson, or you have to consider it experience. There's a lot of people that will go and spend a lot of money for just experiences. And so when people start getting into tournaments the first time, it's most of the time it's a regular team double singles tournament. It's like $100 for the entries or whatever. And they think, well, gosh, I'm in a tournament. I've got to show up. I've got to perform. I can't let my team down. I can't lose this money or whatever else, and they just get all inside their head. And it's like, well, tournaments, for most of them, you have to just write it off as an experience. You have to say, okay, well, if you go to Vegas and go to a show and you pay $100 or $150, $200 for whatever for the show tickets, you have to consider it that you are paying for an experience. You are paying for the weekend. Write the money off. Forget about it. Don't count on getting anything back. They say, don't bowl with the rent money. Don't do that with tournaments. You have to go in expecting that you're going to lose that money. If you get some back, then that's just a perk. That's just a bonus. But you need to get used to, number one, putting the money on the line to begin with, because it's not going to be just that. Then you're going to start spending a couple $100 a set in brackets. And for some guys, they just go in and push the all-in button. Like we have a sweeper on Monday in Kansas City. The all-in button is $960. I have never once gotten anywhere close to hitting the all-in button in my life, but I'm not comfortable with that. Mark Birkenbein, what a character. He bowls everything. Yeah, Mark's great. Mark's really great, and he's given me a lot of good advice, even though I don't. It's kind of funny because I was younger and I used to watch him and Patton kind of mop up everything, and he was one of the big shots, and so I'm like, well, I can't go talk to him. He's one of the big shots, and so now he kind of found me again through the videos and stuff, And then we became friends on Facebook, and he'd comment on a post every once in a while. And then I got kind of talking to him, and he's given me some pretty good advice, even though I haven't really. I'm not even sure I've actually met him in person. And if I have, I didn't talk to him long, or just said hi in passing, or maybe I crossed with him at some little sweeper or something like that. But we have talked a little bit on Facebook, and he'll comment on my posts every once in a while, and he's got some great advice. And one of the greatest and some of the best advice is you just got to get out there. You just have to get out there. And so regionals are kind of expensive. I mean, they are, but if you can find some local stuff, like we have a bunch of these local sweepers that are on Sport Patterns, and a lot of the pros show up to them. Brad Miller's there. Kyle Sherman makes it every once in a while. Packy Hanrahan, Mitch Hoope, these are all guys that you're going to see on the PBA League. If you haven't seen them on the Brad and Kyle channel already, they're part of the house. Butters, Jacob Buttriff has made it up to some of them. Tom Hess is kind of a regular. He's close in the area here, so he makes about half of them. Another really good one is Ryan Burks. I'm actually going to have him on the channel sometime. But we've had Chris Prather once upon a time. He doesn't come out much. Francois Lavoie used to come out to him. But we'll regularly have several PBA tournament wins in the building at any given time, and that's before we get into the good local players. And so you can really judge and gauge yourself. It's just amazing to see the difference between even the good local guys and the pros. The pros, they don't have those awful frames or those awful games, and if they do, they instantly erase them. It's not like, well, you have a couple shaky games, or I'll have something where I'll get into some of these tournaments, I'll go like 210, 210, 210. And it's like, well, I mean, I'm not losing ground here, but I'm not gaining anything. Well, in that time, they've went 240, 230, 250, and that's a huge swing just in those 3 games when they just, I mean, 250, a lot of people think 250 is a big game. Well, it's not a big, 260 and up is a big game. 250 is... you kept it in the pocket, and you got a few triples, and you left a couple spares and whatever else. But their low games, or their off games, are kind of like 210, 220. And if they do happen to shoot, like they catch an awful pair and get some really bad breaks and shoot 180, that at 180 is probably in between a couple of 260s. So they just instantly erase that. Where if you catch a bad pair, well, then it kind of gets in your head. Maybe instead, when I'd shoot my 180s, I'd go like 220, 180, 210. And so I'm just even. I mean, I'm just a couple pins on the good, but they go 260, 180, and then 260 again. And it's just gone, and they're moving on with stuff. But they bowl all the time, and they put money on the line all the time. You just have to get out there and do it. And so that's the best thing that I can advise people. On a really long-winded answer, but it's a good question. It's a good question. This is one of the things that really got me, is I always thought, well, I have to be ready. I have to be ready. I have to be ready. Well, you're never going to be ready. Number one, it's like having kids. I have some friends that it's kind of funny that most of my friends have younger kids. They're my age, but they have younger kids, and we've got our last one's a senior, and then we're done. And they've got like 4 and 5-year-olds and whatever else. And they thought, well, I'm going to go to college, and I'm going to get married, and then we're going to get a house, and we're going to get some bills paid off, and we're going to get things, and we're going to make sure that we have money for a kid. And then they have a kid, and it's like, you're never ready. You're never going to have enough money. So you might as well just go on ahead and do it now and make it work, so that you're not like 55, with a kid just getting into high school. So, because then if they have kids, then you're going to be 70-year-old grandparents instead of like 50-year-old grandparents. Does that math work? Yeah, 50-year-old grandparents, 2020. Yeah, that works out all right. 50-year-old grandparents, where you can still kind of get around with and have some fun with them. When you're 70 years old, it's kind of like, okay, well, hand me the baby, and all right, this is cool, hand it back, can't really do anything, and the kids want to go play and whatever else. So, anyway, rambling. What's up, Luke? Wish I could have got the stream early. I have to watch it later. Yes, watch the stream later. We talked about goat soap. And then watch the Chris Schlemmer interview that I did. Also watch the Tish Johnson interview, because that 30 Clean episode. Number one, I didn't stutter or stumble any more than I normally do. I mean, I stutter when I'm talking to myself. So talking to Tish was actually really good. And she had some great stories. She had some really good insight. And we talked about some hard topics at the same time, too. That was a really, really good interview. And if you don't know who Tish Johnson is, you should go find out. Trust me. I mean, just one of the legends, not only just the women's game, but the game period. And if you're on the younger side, she's in her 50s, so if you're on the younger side, you might not know who she is, especially since the PWBA was gone for 15 years. So there was a big break in there. Otherwise, you'd have definitely known who she was, because she was in her prime when the tour folded. So she'd have definitely won a bunch more. And actually, she was the first woman to win a big men's tournament. You know, she talked about that on the PWBA podcast on the Bowl TV channel. You can find that on Bowl TV also, with a link to that. But she was the first one to win like a big men's tournament, the Super Hoinky. If anybody's heard about that, if you haven't, it was freaking huge. I mean, there was a big mega buck super tournament that they don't really have these anymore. But the Hoinky and the Super Hoinky, she won the Super Hoinky, and that was the first real thing before Kelly Kulick won the Tournament of Champions. The Super Hoinky is probably a bigger deal, honestly, and Tish won it several years before Kelly won the Tournament of Champions, so she's great, and it was a great interview, a great time. So yeah, Super Hoinky, yeah, she won that thing. Some of the younger kids, you may not understand how big of a deal that is, but it's a big freaking deal. See, half the damn PBAs in Dallas right now better running. Oh yeah, they've got a big doubles tournament down there. A couple of the so I'm looking down the stuff. Buttriff is there, and AJ Rice is there, and Mark Henninger's down there, who's a local guy. And then you have the Brad and Kyles of the world. So I'm looking down there and seeing, oh yeah, Northern. Hey, they're not gonna be at the Sweeper on Monday. All right, they're down in Texas. So, God, I hope they're not. Yeah, Beef and Barnsey too. Like, everybody is down there at this tournament, and a lot of the. If you pull up the tournament roster, I see a bunch of them. Yeah, that's me right now. Daughter's 16, son's 12. Yep, you're almost done, man. You're almost there. Well, no, actually, we were just getting started when our daughter was 16. Now we're kind of done with her. Last like year and a half or something. She was a problem for several years after she turned 18. You think the kids turn 18 and you're done? Oh, no. No.
Earlier than that, though, dear. We were still in the apartment.
Oh, yeah, well, it was 13. So, yeah, we had a bad decade. She had a bad decade. But anyway, yeah, we're not 40 yet, and we're done, so almost 40. So anyway, all right, we've been doing this for a couple hours now. I'm now rambling, but it's entertaining, I guess. It's entertaining, I guess. Let me see. What do we have? I've got some of these videos coming soon. Yeah, next weekend. Remember, I'm going to get that up. I'm going to get that up and scheduled tomorrow. But next, yeah, Rudy Revs, Rudy Casamakis. Back in the day. Next Friday night, 7 p.m. Central, is the big super stream. James Niffin's going to be here in Kansas City. Tamer Elbaga from Tamer Bowling is going to be here in Kansas City. We're having a big super stream. We're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to have Kegel Chromium down in the background. We have a nice little den that's got 6 lanes in it, and it's all got cushy seating and whatever else. And so we're going to talk shop for a little bit, and then we're going to get out on the lanes, and we've each got something that we're trying to work on. And so we might practice a little bit and have the other guys kind of analyze what we're doing and make fun of us, and that's the best way to learn.
I'm bullying.
Don't offer me any the term, like, criticisms. What's the construct? Don't offer me any constructive criticism. Make just relentless fun of me until I figure it out.
Yeah, because that goes well for me.
Yeah. Oh, Matt Peoples, what's up, bud? I saw you. I was in the bowling alley today. I saw you throw it left-handed once. I was actually in the pro shop for a minute, so yeah, I saw you and Dad down there bowling. So, sure, you talked about it a lot, but do you think the Rubicon is enough up front Is enough up from the idle with a high rev rate? The Rubicon is not up from the idle, actually. The Rubicon has a stronger core, but a weaker cover. This is another thing that I actually got... Schlim talked about the differences between microtracks, which is the formula that they have on the UFO and the idle. Talked about E-tracks, which is on the Nuke, the Idle Pearl, and the Rubicon, which was on the Idle Pro before it recently got discontinued. And then we have Sure Tracks, which is on the Wild Streak, which is chemically altered, chemically enhanced. Like it's basically Rotogrip's Phase 2 cover. So you should definitely pay way more attention to the Wild Streak. And then VTC, which they use on the lower end stuff, the HP1 and HP2 stuff. So it didn't look bad, Matt. It didn't look bad. I was actually kind of impressed, and I thought, wow, did he switch? He looks like he's been practicing. But the Rubicon is up from the idle as far as shape goes. It's quite a bit quicker down lane than the idle is, but it's not more traction. The idle is actually stronger from a cover stock perspective because it's got Microtracks is a nano cover stock. It's basically their version of NRG, and it's actually Roto's is a little bit stronger than Storm's stock NRG is. And then E-Tracks is basically like a stronger R2S formula, so it's just straight reactive resin. There's no additives, there's no enhancements, whatever else. So it's a quite a bit cleaner cover. So Rubicon is kind of sideways from the idle more than up or down. But they can definitely fit in the same bag. They can definitely fit in the same bag because they shape so much differently and their friction response is so much different. So, bowl Monday night, so I've been trying to get some practice and I haven't bowled much lately. Not a whole lot of people. The Hustle PBR, what's the cover stock on it? It's VTC 20 solid. VTC is basically a weaker version of... R2S. It fits right kind of in between Reactor and R2S. But in VTC 20 might actually be stronger than R2S. He was talking about the differences, but VTC is still an R2S and E-Tracks like cover stock because it's not chemically or enhanced or altered or has any additives in it or something. It's more of a purely reactive cover stock. It's just a weaker version of it than E-Tracks or probably just E-Tracks. It might be R2S strength. Remind me what bag you ranked the Rubicon. Wasn't it a 2? Yes, it's a low 1 for two-handers, big rev rates, because it does. If you have it at 2,000 or 3,000, which I recommend, kind of keeping the surface on it. It looks really good with the surface on it. But yeah, for two-handers or higher rev rates, it can be a 1-ball on more medium, normal conditions. On wet stuff, you're still going to need more teeth. You're going to need UFO stuff on that. But yeah, it's more solidly a 2-ball because it's a mild asymmetric with a kind of cleaner, not necessarily weaker, but a cleaner cover on it. So it'd be something like if you put R2S solid on kind of on that same core. So you have something like the Sherlock versus the Code X. The Code X had the R2S cover on it that's on the Idle, or not the Idle, IQ Tour. So it's kind of a medium strength cover stock, but then you have the Sherlock that's got kind of a nano cover stock on it in GI 17. So both strong asymmetric cores, but fairly different on the lanes because the Sherlock cover was quite a bit stronger than the Code X cover. So if you did, so the Rubicon is something like a little bit maybe weaker. The cover's stronger, the core's weaker, so it's kind of Code X, and that's what I said really, is that it's kind of Code X-ish territory. It's not quite as smooth. It's a little bit longer and a little bit stronger. But if you go pin down on it, you're going to get really close to that Code X Alpha Crux type look. So like the Pro in that regard, in terms of less cover stock and more shape than the OG Idol, but like you say, it puts you in less of a catch-22 like the Pro could do a lot. Yes. And that's something that I talked about with Schlem too, is about the Idol Pro, which unfortunately just kind of got caught in the middle. And this is what I brought up before, is it didn't necessarily have an identity. It wasn't like early and smooth like the idle was, but it wasn't quite as long and flippy as something else was. It just kind of got lost in the shuffle, because when you wanted something that was stronger and earlier, you would go for an idle, but when you wanted something to go longer and shape more, you'd go to the idle pearl, and the idle pro was just kind of in between there. And so it was too much. It was too short of a jump, or too short of a step from either of the balls, and so it just didn't quite fit, and it just never really caught on. So despite being a really cool looking ball, and we talked about that in some of the marketing stuff too, and it's like, well, you know, some balls we get excited about and they just don't sell for whatever reason. And then some other balls, it's like, well, I mean, well, this should do okay, and then it just sells like crazy. So let's see. Where can I find the cover stock strength chart? I don't actually know. You would have to...
Nick occasionally posts.
Yeah, if you get on SRG BBFS and put a post in there and ask Nick, or just send Nick Brown something on Messenger, he should be able to pull that up. I think they actually did one for Rotogrip, or they were talking about doing one for Rotogrip, but Storm actually has one out where they rank the cover stocks in terms of strength, and they do that with the cores too. Storm's got a really cool chart that Chad updates every once in a while. So,
yeah,
how would you...
The last one he posted, that was like, it didn't have 3 of them or something. They hadn't updated Rotos. They hadn't updated in a while. But, I mean, it's still...
Yeah, it still gets you close.
Current.
How much does speed play on sport patterns? It really depends. You watch somebody like Chris Prather, and he can change speeds on a dime. I mean, he can just zing it down there from straight, and then he can just hop right left and really slow it down and roll it. So, and this is something I'm going to talk about on my angle of rotation and my lining up video about angle of rotation, speed, axis, tilt, whatever else. And I did talk about it some of my board box videos too. The board box number 2, board box lessons 2, I talked a lot about that. So, just like you said in one of your videos, my hustle wrap's really close to my idle pearl. Yeah, the wrap it shapes a ton like the idle pearl. It's just a little bit weaker. It's not quite as strong as the idle pearl, but yeah, it's especially for the price point. That's another interesting thing that he talked about, is why the HP1 and HP2 balls are so strong, is because that price point for those two lines is really similar to what discontinued balls from other companies go for. And so once you have something that gets discontinued, all of a sudden, if you have an MVP attitude competing against something like a Hero on closeout, that's kind of rough. And so you can't just look at it from terms of well, you know, we want to have a low-end reactive ball, but if you can get a Hero for $100 on closeout, versus an MVP, you know, like something else that's not maybe quite as strong or whatever. There's a lot of people that go for the bang for your buck stuff. There's not a whole lot of people that are into lower end reactive stuff specifically to have the lower end reactive stuff. They want to get the most ball that they can for the price. So that's why they go gangbusters with the HP1 and HP2 lines and put so much value down there, is because they're competing with stronger balls from other companies when they get discontinued. And even some of our own stuff, they're not terribly concerned with their own stuff, because I mean, if it's selling on closeout, well, they're still selling Storm or Rotogrip balls. They're specifically looking at closeout prices from other companies. So that was something else interesting that we. I don't want to message Nick Brown because I lowballed the snot out of him on Hyper Self-Use. I don't want to remind him. He gets lowballed all the time. He's used to it. Trust me. Just dropped my name and said, Luke told me to talk to you, and I'm sorry about the Hyper Self-Used.
Just don't be a dick this time.
Yeah. All right. Anyhow.
You've got lots of darts to clean up. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, you have lots of darts to clean up. I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
If you just would have sat still and let me.
The hell you talking about? All right. Anyway, we talked about. Yeah, we talked about some stuff. We talked about. We talked some Rubicon stuff, and we talked a bunch of Rubicon with Schlemmer on the live stream, or not on the live stream, on the video that I posted earlier that I was supposed to post yesterday, but because it got messed up. But you avoid watching my shiny horse face, ginger face, staring vacantly into a little dot on a camera. So, anyway.
I have a suggestion in Discord
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one of those. This webcam, I pulled this up. This one's actually good. This one's like 480p or something. It's awful. I don't know how this ended up with
So
such
maybe
a.
just use that one the next
Huh?
time.
Yeah, that's probably when I have. Well, I have to use this one to record the.
Oh.
So yeah.
But if you just use the webcam, you wouldn't need to.
I don't. I want to have it on two places. I don't want to trust Zoom either, because as soon as I trust one source, then something's gonna go wrong. I mean, yeah, because
you can't record from the same computer.
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Maybe you should.
Well,
try.
no, because I have to put whatever I have Zoom on goes through the TV. So yeah,
you're right.
it's a problem.
Okay, I gotcha. I'm following.
It's a problem. What do you think about putting shine to the Axiom? I don't like it on the right or on the left side actually, because it's kind of a flippy cover for a Nano. It shapes pretty good. But it's strong enough to where I have to get in a little bit to get it down the lane, but then it gets too springy off the dry and it's a little too slow in the oil. So I think that one's a whole lot better keeping it sanded up. So yeah, I have 2 PBRs, 1 wrap, and a Hustle Link on all the MVPs. At that price point, you can drill stuff different. Yeah, and that's a really good point actually. At those price points, you can fiddle around with layouts and try some different stuff. Now, you're not going to see as big of difference on layouts with lower differentials like those have, but once you get into the MVPs, you will see bigger differences in layouts. And if something sucks, you're only out the $150 or whatever. So, it's still that's still not cheap, but yeah, I'd eat an Axiom salad. I mean, blueberries salad. That doesn't sound blueberry salad doesn't sound awful. I've got cotton candy grapes upstairs I'm going to go eat some of. So, all right, thanks everybody for coming out. Once again, reminder, big stream next Friday at 7 p.m. We have James and Tamarel Baga from Tamar Bowling is going to be there, and we're going to be in the den. We're going to have Keiko Chromium on they have 6 lanes in there. They have posh seating and a little bar area, and everything's really cool. So,
bowling going on in the background.
Yeah, we're going to have some bowling.
Talking.
Yeah, probably trash talking. We're going to talk shop for a little while, and then we're probably going to get on the lanes and kind of work with some stuff. There's some stuff that we kind of want to.
Spectators in there that you'll hear cackling and probably betting dollars on how many 7 pins you leave. And
yep. Thanks, Joe. We'll see you next weekend. Looking forward to that.
Darts. He's bringing the dart gun.
He's bringing a dart gun.
Bill is bringing coal, so they'll have more dart guns.
Yep.
I'm bringing our darts guns. We're going to have to make sure we keep track of the darts. We're going to have to pick them all up.
Say hello to my little friend. We got the we got the GAT back there.
We're going to test it out. Make sure it works.
Oh, it works.
Batteries.
Pew, pew, pew.
Batteries.
Anyway, yeah, thanks a bunch, everybody, for coming out. We're going to do that, and then I've got a bunch of really cool videos coming next week. Different stuff off. I mean, this is something else I was talking to Schlemmer after we got done, was that there's so many people out there doing ball review videos now that if you go looking for a parallax video, you're going to find like 30 of them. And so it's really getting stale. It's really getting oversaturated. And Brad and Kyle, I think, are ahead of and I don't know how you wouldn't be subscribed to Brad and Kyle. If you watch bowling content of any kind, if you're not subscribed to Brad and Kyle, go over there and do it now, because they're ahead of the curve as far as they're doing instructional videos, they're doing coaching videos, they're doing like real learning stuff. And that's what I'm going to try to get into, because there's so many people doing ball review stuff right now that it's just...
What did you do like 3 years ago?
What? Well, yeah, but I never could get into it because we either didn't have the time or I couldn't do it. That's part of the thing, is switching to... I've had the ideas, but they're hard to write for, they're hard to film, and they're hard to get on video and whatever else. So now that I'm Lefty, I can actually do some of this stuff. So I have a Vulcan EBF 25 chain gun. No, this was nothing. It was not for lack of an idea.
You did not agree with me when I said
But yeah,
like, no, that's
yeah.
a stupid idea.
Yep, thanks, Matt. We'll see you sometime, and I've got a big stream coming up sometime. We're going to drill a lot of stuff.
No, we're not doing it.
Lots of phases.
We're not doing it that way.
Well, I mean, I just won't spin. I just won't drag it out. Anyhow. All right, we'll see y'all later. Like I said, a bunch of good videos coming this week, and then Friday's the big stream. And that's really all I know for right now. So, Rubicon released yesterday. Go get one.
James says so.
Yeah, James says so. Shot 15 heckin' 40 for 6 games. So, yep.
With a triplicate.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go eat some cotton candy grapes and take my goat soap back upstairs, and we'll see y'all later.